on the Gianna Volpe Report, brought to you in part by Village Overhead Door in Southold, Maximus Health and Fitness in Riverhead, Victor Giannini, author of Counselor, International Executive Protection, Crest Winery, and Michael Evans, author of The Real Matrix.
Yes, an apology right off the bat for, right before the break, I called it The Counselor. And the book is actually called Counselor, and it is actually one of my favorite books I've ever read.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on with us this morning, Victor. It is an absolute pleasure. I want to read right before we get into this. If you live on the East End and you love the East End, you must have this book. I'm going to read from page 56. The whole of this island is nothing more than a strip mall, surrounded by suburban homes growing over native bones. The general population is a doomed lot of lower middle-class laborers, sentenced to eternal gridlock. This breed has a strange arrogance that comes from living on an island. The only claim to fame this blank strip can boast is a handful of perfect beaches clustered at the end. Aside from that, which only 1% of the wealthiest enjoy, it's no different from any other blindly defeated piece of Americana. Victor, every sentence in this book is a piece of art, is a novel unto itself, and that's one of the reasons why I love, say, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. What was the writing process like for you? How long did it take for you to put this piece of art together?
I started in 2005, and I've worked on it up until about last year. And thank you. And the part you just read, the narrator doesn't truly appreciate where he lives or what he has. And part of the setting is I had to exaggerate it so that he could learn, but also so that cell phones and computers couldn't get in the way of the plot. So I made the rich richer, the poor poorer. And thank you for mentioning Dorian Gray. It's one of my favorite short stories, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it creeps me out quite a bit.
Yeah, but the reason why is I draw that comparison is because every line is just something special, and that's how I feel about this book. It's divided into books. The book is divided into books. I'm still in book 1, so I would like to just keep having you back as I go through it, and I plan to do so very slowly because I just love every line is something special. Now, how long is the span that takes place here? Because it's very Tarantino-esque. You know, you start with today. Every chapter you'll say today at sunset, last week. You know, how long does this book, how long does it actually take place?
The actual timeline is over one night. It's the most important night in Tim Dune's life. The Tarantino-esque part, I think you mean like Pulp Fiction, how it kind of circles around.
Right, and you jump back years, you jump back into memory and whatnot.
Yeah, that's because memory is what is debilitating Tim. He can't get over the death of his girlfriend, which happened 3 years prior. It's sort of eating his mind, while the brother of the girlfriend is moving on with life. He's dealing with the grief process, and Tim is just stuck. His life is falling apart. And the reason it starts today is that circles back to the end of the book, where we get to see his character arc, what he's learned, what's changed. Is he a better person? Did he get over it?
Right. And one of my favorite things actually is the second chapter is really when you get to see sort of the love story between the girlfriend Tracy and Timothy Dune, and it's so vivid and so beautiful. And one of the things that I was saying that I don't like about a lot of other books or movies is when you have a love story that never gets developed. This one, right off the bat, I have feelings, very deep feelings about both those characters. And is that something that you wanted to do, to set that up early on?
Oh, absolutely, because if the reader can't believe in Tim's infatuation with his first love, they're not going to care about why it's affecting him and paralyzing him. Because even though the plot has a lot of action and travels through Long Island and some of the seedier parts, and there's, excitement, there's a torture scene and some gunfire, but Tim's not the guy going in and torturing and doing the gunfire. He's not a hero. And if people can't identify with just the universal thematic themes of love, it fails. And my goal when writing it was that anyone of any age could read it and identify somehow to having those feelings.
Mm-hmm. Not a hero or a villain. That's what, like, how it starts out, which I love. Every villain thinks they're a hero, but last night I learned that some of us can be both, which I thought was so great.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the core idea, is he believes in absolutes, and...
Well, that's problematic.
Oh, yeah. And he actually, to reach his goal, which is basically to come clean with his best friend...
And Tracy.
Yeah, admit, oh, hey, your younger sister, I had an affair with her before she died, and I've been hiding it. And in order to do that, he goes on a journey where he has to team up with his best friend, who's a pretty eccentric drug dealer, but kind of a great guy, and his worst enemy from middle school, who is also a great guy and an Iraq veteran, but Tim is too blind to see it at first.
Okay. He has just some preconceived notions.
Yeah.
Maybe some jealousy.
Oh, there's jealousy, because these guys are doing all right. Even though we might see them as villains, hopefully by the end of the novel, people will see that everyone's a mixture of gray. Not everyone is totally good. Not everyone's totally bad.
That is, yeah, I mean, that just is. Let's talk a little bit about... Number one, the art is phenomenal. And second of all, the fox theme. Why?
The fox theme... Oh, thank you for the art. And I'd like to point out real quick, there's a hardcover version
that's different. It's got the girl, right? Is this the cover?
Yeah.
I love her.
The paperback features Tim with a fox mask, and the hardcover features Tracy, and that artwork was done by Mia Berg, who's a fantastic artist, and I wanted to contrast the two themes. What was the question?
The question was about the fox theme.
Oh, the fox theme,
There are foxes all throughout the book.
Yeah, that was a weird... it was luck, because from the first draft back in 2005, I just put them in, and I wasn't obsessed with foxes at the time. And Tim names his fake sword, which he carries around and is completely useless, he names it Kitsune, and I'd heard it before. I didn't realize it was the Japanese word for fox, or I think it is. And Tracy is symbolized by foxes, where in this exaggerated world, they are one of the many animals that are going extinct. So every time he sees one, he's not sure if it's a hallucination of his deteriorating mind, or I can't say it's a ghost of Tracy. It's not that literal, but there's something about foxes I love, and I noticed that they've disappeared from, I live in Springs, and I used to see them all the time, and I haven't seen one in, 10 years, maybe.
You'll see them on the North Fork, on the vineyards, but generally they're pretty mangy.
Yeah, actually I was driving one night and there was one just sitting in the middle of the road staring at me.
That's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame anyone for not believing that, but it happened, and
I believe you.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, no problem. But I'm partial to foxes. That's what I am. Volpe is Italian for fox, and so I'm sort of loving that, like seeing foxes all the time. So that's really cool that foxes are actually going extinct in this universe.
Yeah, and the other reason I initially chose foxes is because to me they're kind of a synthesis of canine and feline, and
Interesting.
Thanks.
See, and you know what I love, my favorite part is that there's such a noir, like graphic novel feel to this book. And I know that one of the chapters is actually, you got permission
From Neil Gaiman, yeah.
That's like, that blows my mind, from the Sandman Chronicles, which I've had the privilege of that I've read. How did you do that?
That was a combination of blind luck and not being afraid to fail. So on his website, you can just submit a question, and he's very great with the public. So I wrote and I said, I have a very important part of my novel, and the chapter is named after one of your most famous issues ever, called The Sound of Her Wings. I explained the content had nothing to do with what his did, but could I have permission to use it? And legally, I could, but I didn't want to do it without his blessing, even though he'll probably never know the novel exists. And to my great shock, he actually wrote back and said, yeah, man, go for it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did that's just so cool that you got to like have a conversation with him or any type of interaction.
Yeah, and that comes from the not being afraid to fail. I mean, for better or worse, I'll approach people I admire and try to have a conversation with them without being too much of an obnoxious ham.
And that's how you got your book into the hands of Alda, I'm guessing?
Yep, that happened at the Southampton Writers Conference this year. He's a wonderful guy. He's very sweet.
Really?
Yeah.
Not surprised. Also, I remember coming by, meeting your father, and seeing the other things, like you've got some other great pieces of art and graphic novels. Who are some of the other people that you've met out there?
Roger Rosenblatt has been a huge influence on me, and when I was getting my master's program in Southampton, the list of people who mentored me and became my friends is still astonishing. I got to work with Jules Feiffer. I grew up as a huge fan of his. Another very sweet man, very friendly. Meg Wolitzer, Julie Sheehan. I mean, the list just goes on, and it's they helped me develop the book because I knew that I felt like I had the right ideas, but that my writing wasn't up to par yet. And they really put in the time and believed in me, and still do. Well,
Victor, we are definitely going to have you back. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Everyone, please buy Counselor by Victor Giannini on Amazon or Silver Thought.
Yeah, on Silver Thought, you could get the limited edition hardcover.
Very nice. So we will have you back.
If you're feeling guilty about the past, worried about the future, feel stuck in your present situation, or you're depressed, there is a reason for that. Your perception of yourself was formed by the adults you grew up around, school, and now as an adult, you're surrounded by people who say suffering is normal. You're bombarded by commercials that try to sell you something to change your self-perception, or by photoshopped pictures of celebrities in magazines. You live in a matrix that's built on lies. The real Matrix pulls the curtain back on those lies. Things are about to change for you. If you're ready, order your copy of The Real Matrix by Michael Evans now, or download it at therealmatrixbook.com. All proceeds will be donated to charity. Discover who you really are and not what others want you to believe. More and more executives understand that in the world they live in, they are a target, and that's why more and more of them have protection. Now you can be part of this growing industry. International Executive Protection can help you on your way to being a certified protection operator. This is a growth industry that relies on people with clean backgrounds, high ethics, and a willingness to get involved. International Executive Protection teaches you everything, so when you're on assignment for them, you'll be able to deal with anything that comes up, from disruptive fans to disgruntled former employees. Safety is most people's biggest concern, and the best part of it is that being a certified protection operator helps you stay safe too. So call 1-727-422-7233 and get all the details for yourself. That's 1-727-422-7233 or by email to info@internationalep.com for international executive protection. Waters Crest Winery, 28735 Main Road in Cutchogue across from Wickham Fruit Farms, is the crest of the North Fork. It's a small boutique winery where the whites are dry and crisp and the reds are big and bold. Their grapes are carefully selected from local North Fork growers and made into wine that will be remembered long after the meal is finished or the celebration is ended. They're open daily at noon until 9 on Friday and Saturday nights. Their tasting room features food from Touch of Venice, so the experience will be everything you were hoping for and then some. They're nationally known for their fine wines, so come and see for yourself what everyone is talking about. There's music every Wednesday evening from 7 until 10 to chase those midweek blues. Call 631-734-5065 or come on in to Waters Crest Winery on the main road in Cutchogue across from Wickham's Fruit Farm. Waters Crest Winery, the crest of the North Fork.